Good morning, happy Tuesday. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I know the Appropriations Committee did. Um, it is Tuesday, March 24th. This is the Ways and Means Committee. We are about to receive a referral of the FY27 budget bill to us. And so we're going to get a little ahead of it so that we can hear about it and ideally do a vote on it. So that it can continue on its journey on the timeline that was expected of it. So Emily is not able to go line by line through the budget, so she's going to do a big picture overview of us. It came to us because some language that we had passed another bill has been incorporated into the budget. And I'm going to turn over to you now, Emily.
Great.
Unless you want to say something first, Representative Scheid.
Well, just so in case you haven't heard, we passed the budget out unanimously in our committee, which was very exciting. It was a good amount of teamwork, and I think we put together something that we can all be proud of. So glad to be here.
Thank you.
Great. So for the record, Emily Byrne from the Joint Fiscal Office. I have a very brief presentation, as Representative Kornheiser said, that runs through some of the just the like top level budget construct, if you will, and then a couple bullet points on just like highlights for this committee that you all probably wanted to be aware of, and then I can go through the bill itself and whatever level of detail makes sense or lack of detail, whatever the
Excruciating or otherwise.
yes, any level of the universe. We are almost done. Did I spell your name? No.
You did that right.
I did. The highlight document that we normally have and is available for caucuses and on the floor is in its final round of editing. So that may come in at the very end and we could walk through that depending on timing. That works. So at a high level, the total unduplicated budget for FY 2027 is $9.3 billion. Of that, over a third is coming from the federal government and federal funds, mostly at the Medicaid program. The general fund and the education fund are both 27% of the total budget this year. Special funds, and that includes the tobacco fund and the state healthcare resource fund and the fish and wildlife fund and sort of all the special funds across state government, sort of outside of the big three state funds and federal funds, make up about 7% of the budget, and the transportation fund is the remaining 4% of the budget this year. To go through just at a high level, the sort of, you spent a lot of time with the education fund outlook. This is a similar document summarized for the general fund. So and I tried to call out places, again, where it's relevant, how the budget incorporates some of the changes that are being proposed by this committee in the miscellaneous tax bill specifically, and sort of other revenue type changes that you may want to be aware of. So in terms of sources to the general fund, so we take the FY 2026 or the January 2026 forecast for FY 2027. And then we modify that based on the changes in the miscellaneous tax bill. So the changes to the meals and rooms tax that's being dedicated to the general fund, the changes in corporate income tax and the other tax credits that were included in the miscellaneous tax bill. The net of those changes in FY 27 is about $3 million. I'll jump down to that prior year carry forward line. So also, as you are more aware than I am, is the changes in the miscellaneous tax bill that also impacted FY 26. The way that shows up in the budget is a decrease in the amount of money that's being carried forward from FY 26 into the FY 27 budget. We accounted for that nearly $4 million of anticipated corporate income tax change in FY 26. So those two, that 3.18 and that 3.96 are the sort of net impact of the miscellaneous tax bill on the general fund. So almost about zero. Then, so I'll jump back up, sorry, to the transfers to the general fund. So the other additional sources to the general fund that the Appropriations Committee utilized in their budget construct was the big change in that transfer to the general fund is utilizing the interest in the Technology Modernization Fund. There was a fund set up back in 2022 a fair amount of funds was transferred to it to help with some of the major IT projects that state government is undertaking. Because of the way the fund was constructed, it earned a fair amount of interest, nearly $10 million in FY 23, 24, and 25. So the Appropriations Committee decided that it, given the pressures in state government, to transfer that money to the general fund and then utilize elsewhere. So that brings the total sources to $2.74 million. And then about $10 million higher than what the governor recommended, primarily as a result of that transfer from the Technology Modernization Fund. So that additional revenue plus a change in transfers, which I'll get to, were appropriated in the bill to the tune of about $2.55 million, $17 million higher than where the governor was. How the Appropriations Committee is able to appropriate that additional $7 million. When this committee made the decision to change the allocation of the meals and rooms tax, that was done right because in the governor's recommend, he had $10 million that was being transferred from the general fund to the education fund to make it for the purchase and use change. Because of the miscellaneous tax bill change that changes the allocation of the purchase and use tax and the meals and rooms tax, that $10 million change, make up for the purchase and use tax, doesn't have to be transferred to the education fund anymore. So that frees up $10 million in the general fund to be appropriated. So that's where the remainder of the funds that are appropriated in the House version of the bill come from. There are a few other transfers that happen, which is why it's not exactly $10 million, but that's the bulk of why that change is there.
And then what's the reason for the difference between 10 million and 7.3?
Off the top of my head, I gotta remember off the top of my head what those are.
So some 2.7 million adjustment.
The 26th, the FY 26. Money that we lost.
It's from above.
Cut from 26.
Yeah, and there's also they transferred, it's been a long couple days. Transferred some money to the Tech Modernization Fund. There's some other transfers within that that changed, which we have a detailed spreadsheet. I'm happy to walk you through it, but that's the overall, the net impact of those other transfers plus the education fund change was 0.73. The Tech Mod Fund and the other one is they are transferring $1.3 million to the Community Resilience and Disaster Relief Fund to help support the towns that were denied FEMA relief. So net of those out, like those plus not having to do the 10, get you to 7. And so just a few other things to highlight for this committee that I know is relevant to the work that you're doing and wanted to call out specifically. So included in the budget that's proposed by the House thus far, they included additional funding for a position of the tax department to assist with the implementation of the changes to the homestead declaration that we understand are being contemplated in this committee. Yes, it hasn't passed out of this committee yet, but the money is in the budget if that's becomes necessary. Additionally, there's another $150,000 appropriated to the treasurer's office for the volunteer income tax assistance program. It does include the $104.9 million transfer to the education fund. And the big reason why this bill got referred to this committee is because it incorporates the changes that were in H558, the transition of the school-based Medicaid services program to the Agency of Human Services from the Agency of Education.
We thank you for your grace in most of our requests to your committee.
Yeah, we were able to do a few things for you, so
Yeah.
glad we did.
There's a document from Emily posted that you might want to refresh. Do you have a second thing you want to share?
That's all I had. These are like the super highlights. There's lots of we don't have the official highlight document that you typically look at in caucus of the whole and in individual caucuses.
We'll have that later today.
Hopefully will be out soon. I don't know if there's specific sections of the budget you want me to talk about or more about the bill.
Representative Holcomb, you had a question, then Representative Weiser?
Yeah, no, actually, I was hoping to say something to Chair Chad. I really appreciate the work at the end around the transfer of the Medicaid. I understand this is something that needs to happen. it is high stakes, and the state has had some real struggles with implementation of complex policy. And I think what concerned me is there was no consultation with school districts about the implementation transition until literally the Thursday before we saw the bill here. And my hope is in appropriations that you can keep an eye on implementation, and to the extent you see signs that there may be challenges, that we get on it early so that we don't have failure.
Right.
We can't afford to fail on this.
Right, no, it is a big deal. And there were 5 positions that are sort of school facing, in the field facing positions that would be kept in the agency of education, because we heard, somebody else told us, that was really a critical piece of that.
And you can reassess next year, but we just can't, we cannot fail in the implementation on this. I really appreciate your being responsive to that.
Um, 9:31 was moved to second, so, yep, not quite yet, but you will in a minute. Yeah, just one second, I'm coordinating all the things. Representative Wozniak, you're up.
Thank you. There's $100,000 that we requested for a 10-year tax study for JFO.
Oh, yes, that is in.
Great.
That was kind of netted out of everything.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
So it was kept in the.
It wasn't on the tax.
No, that's right, that was in there,
It's in your bill,
right, it's in your bill.
but it's accounted for in the general fund.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you.
As was the downtown payment, and the tax credit for the 350 for the
Down payment assistance.
down payment
Yeah.
assistance, all of those things that we have accounted for.
Let's see, page, so we're now seeing it says it's a presentation. Page 951 fiscal year 2027 Appropriations Act. And but no page numbers on here, but I think it's page 3. Does this say 35% increase in federal funds in the green?
Oh, that's just it's not an increase, that's just the total percentage of the total. appropriate.
100%.
Okay, so what is the increase last year to this year of budget?
Wait, I got the bill report.
I did that last night, I can't
Is it
remember.
9.1?
Where do you want the report numbers?
No, can I get back to you on that one?
Yes.
And do you want
Yeah.
the total budget or just the general fund budget or or both? Do both.
Total budget, that's what's gonna be easiest for the public to
Okay,
understand.
yes.
The total budget last year, or this year over last year. Not what the increases.
Yeah. Actually. I typically say I don't do math on the fly.
Wouldn't be this, but
2%.
Thank you. I know you've had a lot to think about.
1.6%, actually. 1.6%.
The change from 90, what year are we in? 2020.
2026 to 2027.
and it's 2026 as adjusted by the budget adjustment. Right, so it's not, so we had a lot of money that had to be put into the FY 26 budget for caseload mobilization, Medicaid stuff. Big chunk of what it increased from what was passed last year.
Okay, so if I start talking about this, the 1.6% increase being fairly reasonable, is someone going to jump in and say, yeah, but what you're not saying is something else? What else?
I don't know if I can answer that.
Do you have something in mind?
Well, I guess the BAA might be something they bring up. And I can deal with that. It was approved by the group. I don't know what else there might be. I just hate getting caught in things like that.
So assuming that's what you're using in the numbers, of that, so it's about almost 146 million increase. That includes 105 million increase to the education fund. So most of it's related to the education fund. It's not related to the appropriations budget, the general fund budget. And when you see the highlight sheet, you will see that will be clear.
Okay, I'll wait for that.
Yeah, actually, we have more questions.
So the downtown and village center tax credits, are you considering that in the base or one time? Thanks.
What was the answer? Sorry.
Sorry, base. We reduced the revenue available to the base budget.
Does anyone need to see anything else? Or have any other questions? Yeah, Representative Cook.
We're also expecting to start seeing next year the impact of things like the changes on the provider tax, a bunch of other things. Has that all been pulled together? And I only say that because I'm hoping we can be extremely proactive in responding to some of the challenges. And I think you're the only community that really has that global perspective, to be honest, but it feels like we have a train
Yeah.
coming at us.
We
I
do.
will remind the committee that we did look at that fairly comprehensively the first week in the session, which was like 1,000 years ago.
But it's also
I know that-
evolved. But it's
Yes,
also
I know that you all did as well, so.
Right, well, so in FY 28, we're gonna lose 18.5 million for the provider tax. That's the first of like 5 years of reductions in provider tax, so it starts then.
Yes.
We will have probably, we don't have an updated revenue, but revenues are not increasing at the rate they used to be increasing, the federal funds are gone. You know, buying down property taxes, we're not gonna have money next year to keep buying down property taxes. It just isn't gonna be there. So, you know, I've been telling people that have come into our committee room that, you know, if you're getting something this year, don't count on it for next year. Start planning for not, I mean, we could be starting $40 or $60 million in the hole for next year. So it's really important to think about that. Just be aware of that.
We'll have to raise you some revenue.
I'm sorry, I was busy talking sign language when you were going through all that. Why should we be concerned about 40 million?
18.5 million cut in provider tax next year, that's revenue cut.
Yeah.
Some of the one time that we have that's available this year is one time, it won't be available next year. That's a good chunk of it. We don't know what revenues are gonna be doing, but their rate of growth is declining. Yet, you know, we have Pay Act and people getting raises and all of those things that are.
Would it be helpful to the committee for us to revisit that early testimony and have it be a little updated next week sometime? Does that sound good? So we like can sort of set the stage for the second half of the session? Great. Yeah,
In
Representative.
that vein, could we also, I mean, I, from sitting there, I know how woefully decrepit some of our state systems are, whether it's, yeah. And I just wonder if, I mean, we could use one-time money to buy down tax rates. We could also use one-time money to fix some of the foster care tax systems, in which case we might even be eligible for additional funding.
Yes.
So I mean, how do we as a body
Yeah.
begin to evaluate the financial impact of some of the choices that we're making?
Yeah, and it gets to be challenging because we're a part-time legislature who's here for whatever amount of time we're here for, 18 weeks and that would be a full-time job. I know that, for example, Rep. Donahue and Rep. Blumenthal have been looking into the secure youth residential facility and what's really going on there, because we've had a number of failed attempts with Newberry and Virgins and on and on and on, and yet we're spending all this money we're spending $4,000 a day for beds, whether there's a child there or not. So it's costing over $1 million a bed per year in some of these places. So really digging into, it's a can of worms and you peek under the hood, and I'm mixing on that, but it gets worse the deeper that you look. So there's a lot of that and people have spent hours on that. And there are a number of areas where I think time needs to be spent. How we manage that becomes its own challenge.
Yeah, so, the other thing, so what we included in our miscellaneous tax when it comes to the federal link up or decoupling, that's really a wild card as well. Because initially, GFO came out with some pretty meager figures that jumped up within, a month and a half time, looking at other states. But again, that's kind of an unknown as far as some of that money. I mean,
It's a volatile tax.
I mean, even in the best of times, corporate taxes are our most volatile revenue source.
We can't drink.
There's a highlight sheet that we can look at if we want to. If people are, I think it's arrived.
Is it all
I
right?
heard rumor it had arrived.
Oh, right.
Is that helpful for folks?
Yeah.
Okay. And our other bills were moved to the end of the list, except for that single one that you're reporting. Yeah, because Education Committee needs to get back to Education Committee.
Just listed under. And you're watching. Are you watching?
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Thank you for saving paper. I can take one and pass it. You don't need to. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Not used to
Just want me to share.
Yeah, I'm gonna do one up so you can get one.
Maybe it
Oh,
is.
I have the difference.
You can, here, you.
Here, we got.
We have extra, no, now you have to get it.
I bet. Well, here we go.
That's my biggest problem.
That's your biggest problem.
We did good.
Does everybody have one of their
I
extras?
think everyone has one. Representative Higley, do you have one?
Not.
I think there's one right in front of you. And did you,
This mine.
okay, great.
Sure. We figured it out.
Apparently we cannot take one and pass it, great. Sorry, I spoke out of turn.
So I think we can jump in. So that table at the top, that's what drives those numbers that are in that chart. Representative Brannigan that you had asked about, and these give you that. Show you that picture that shows the real driver in the increases. It's 52 million in the general fund and 104 additional spending in the education fund. About $42 million of additional federal funds anticipated. So at the sort of top section on page 1, we already spoke about, that table is that PowerPoint, or in the PowerPoint that I just went through, that's what that table reflects. So I can do you want me to do just a quick run through all of the bullets? Highlight doc, do you want to read them yourself and ask questions?
Representative Wozniak has a question, so I guess we're looking at ourselves and asking questions.
I love it.
Excellent. Under the housing thing, the 61.45 and based on the DCF, homeless response, et cetera. Chair Wood had a presentation at some point towards the end of last week that included $500,000 for municipal support funding. Is that in the budget? Yep, it is, great. And
It'll be in the B1100 C something section.
Oh, is that wait, municipal technical assistance from VCRD?
no, the for homelessness response and supports, there was $500,000 that Chair Wood requested for municipal
It's part of the.
money.
As part of the 82 million?
Yes.
on
Okay,
the
So-
warrants.
and I can follow up offline about what specifically that money. is.
Eventually, we hope to have a sort of spreadsheet of what all the stuff, because it's all over throughout. You know, the governor put in 82 million
Yeah.
to do this, and we have the exact same amount that the governor put in.
Yeah.
For this program.
Yeah. Just that municipal support money is vital for various cities. so I
Yes,
wanna make sure.
$500,000 is in there, yeah.
And then I can follow up and find out when it's perfect. And yeah, I'll follow up and figure out what the parameters for that are.
Representative Hofer?
Yeah, so I know that the state had been trying to make incremental investments, but I'm particularly worried about the SNAP technology system, but also the foster family services.
The CC with.
Yeah. And they're a long way, or they were a long way from having enough money to do what needed to be done. Did you get any testimony on, did you make investments in moving that work in this budget? And do we have any sense of how much more it would take to finish the job, but also how much money we're leaving on the table and how much staff time we're wasting because we haven't finished the job?
Your testimony on that?
I'm sorry,
On the-
I'm also now multitasking about the floor and here and.
The life of it.
Ask again, please.
Oh, no. I knew it, Robin. So thank you. First of all, but I know that for years you had been working systematically to make those investments in the SNAP technology system, but also the foster family, the CCF with or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And did you get testimony on how much we've done, how much we
No,
have?
not, we wouldn't get that in our committee. That would probably be in human services, possibly in energy and digital infrastructure.
Did you get testimony on how much federal money we're possibly leaving on the table?
Yeah, again, that would be
Yeah,
human
okay.
services, that would not be our committee. But we have been told, anecdotally, that yes, this program is leaving money on the table, by not having it. And when I was in a corrections institutions 10 years ago, we talked about upgrading Sissy List. Yes.
Just a question, and then there are differing narratives on whether or not the Agency of Education asked to fund the 4 people on a construction management division. If that was in their request to appropriations. Any idea?
Construction management?
Construction management.
Construction management.
School construction management division. Yeah, doesn't ring a bell, okay.
Governor, the governor's recommend requested was granted 5 limited service position conversions, but none of them seem to do with school.
Right, those were the transformation positions that were in 873 are being converted from limited service to permanent budget.
Anyone else?
I'm curious, we're not the first ones to see this budget, are we? It's probably it's been passed around. I mean, what's been the reaction?
What do you mean? By whom?
Well, anybody that's actually seen it, Senate to.
The Senate hasn't seen it. We just passed it out last night. It was unanimous. It was unanimous Friday and it was unanimous on Monday. So people had the weekend to think about it, and it was still unanimous on Monday. Does that give you enough of an indication?
It does.
Alumni. Anyone else have any questions? Do we have possession of the bill at this moment, Swarshma?
We do.
Great. Would anyone be willing to move said bill?
Madam Chair, I would move that we find H 951 favorable.
Thank you,
This
Representative.
was a
Representative Kimball moves that we find H 891.
951.
H 951 favorable, and Representative Wozniak seconds. Any discussion? Yes,
I'm
Representative
going to
Holcomb.
vote for this, and I support this, and I'm deeply grateful for the incredible work by the Appropriations Committee. I just have to express again my concern. We are running out of money. There are one-time investments that we could make, which would reduce our ongoing costs every year moving forward. So I wish we were using that one-time money for permanent reduction, not short tax holidays.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Representative
I would
Bodie.
just like to say that with our vote on the yield bill last week, that, and hearing what Representative Shai was saying, that we are reserving half of what we were given, so that we can, use that next year to buy down property taxes. So I think that as a person who's likes to save and a little in the savings account, this is, I feel like it's fiscally conservative.
Thank you. Representative Higley.
And that other 52 million was kept in the education reserve fund, correct?
We transferred the entire thing to the education fund,
Yeah.
and you all put together your yield bill, which we passed out as the appropriations last week.
Okay, thank you.
And it doesn't really matter, but generally in discussion, once we're in the motion, we're not supposed to talk to people outside of the committee. I don't know why. That's just the norm. We've never talked about it before. I'm just flagging it. It doesn't matter. Just. Anyway, any further discussion? Yes, Representative Brannigan.
Also, vote for this
Mhm.
right here in committee, but I want to reserve my vote for the floor for future time.
Your vote is said reserved. Thusly. Okay, seeing no further discussion and with so much gratitude to the committee for their patience in doing this all so fast, and to the staff and Chair Shai for coming here so promptly. Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Brannigan.
Yes.
I'll vote yes, as Representative Burkhart, Representative Higley,
Yes.
Representative Holcomb.
Yes.
Representative Kimball,
Yes.
Representative Maslin? Representative Odie?
Yes.
Representative Page?
Yes.
Representative Wazazak?
Yes.
Representative Canfield?
Yes.
And Representative Kornheiser?
Yes.
We have voted the bill favorable 11-0-0.
Thank you, everyone. I will report this.
Thank you.
Off to the floor we go. And we're still in announcements, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.